honestly so upset. Living in America is freaking ridiculous right now.
Wow. 1.3 million empty rentals in America?
New York City is so expensive. Some of the apartments that I'm looking at are triple the price that they were a year or even 2 years ago.
My rent in Miami has gone up $750.
Skyrocketing rent prices have left millions of Americans struggling to afford even the most basic housing, turning what was once a manageable expense into an overwhelming financial burden. Landlords and corporate investors continue to drive up costs, often without justification, while wages fail to keep pace. For many, the dream of stable housing is slipping away, forcing families into smaller spaces, longer commutes, or even homelessness. As frustrations mount, calls for rent control and housing reform grow louder, demanding urgent action against these relentless and often ridiculous increases. Hello guys, welcome to Inside Republic. Kindly like and share this video so that the algorithm can recommend it to a broader audience, and that helps with the growth of the channel and page. If you haven't subscribed or followed, kindly do so, and to those that have, I'm truly grateful. Let's watch the following video clips, then I'll be back with my commentary.
I just got another rent increase. I'm so angry. It makes no sense. It doesn't make sense. What am I paying for? The house has actually probably gotten worse. When I first moved in here, when was it? I can't even remember now. Like just during COVID. I can't remember. But anyway, when I first moved in, this place was $640 a fortnight. Want to guess what it is now? $860 a fortnight is what I'm now going to be paying. For what? For what?
My rent is going up $700 per fortnight, and yes, I have tried to negotiate. I said, just confirming that you're wanting to increase the rent by a total of $700 per fortnight. That's a considerable and confronting increase for a 3-bedroom house, shaking out to be an extra $230 per room. We'd love to come to a solution that reflects both the current market and the current financial pressure that inflation is having on us tenants. We are hoping this is negotiable and that you can revise the offer. Real estate agent wrote back. She said, I can try and negotiate with the landlord, but what are you proposing as a counteroffer? Then she said, please note that the rental market is strong at the moment and we would be able to achieve the increased amount should the property be re-advertised at the moment. Kind of feels like a warning, no? I wrote back and I showed her another 3-bedroom property that I found online in Redfern. I said that this one is nicer and has 3 bathrooms, whereas our place only has 2 bathrooms. That one was on the market for $2,300 per fortnight, but what our landlord wants was $2,600 a fortnight. And then I said, given those differences, we believe that $2,100 for our property is fair per fortnight. This is still a considerable increase of $200 a fortnight, but let me know if you have any other comparable options on the market. A little over an hour later, she comes back and she says, I've spoken to the landlord and unfortunately he was very stern about not negotiating the increase. The rent has been cheap for quite some time and we are confident that we could relet the property at the increased amount. Sorry I couldn't be a bearer of better news. Wouldn't she have known that?
I'm honestly so upset. Living in America is freaking ridiculous right now. There are people choosing whether they want to have Christmas gifts or pay their rent, and that might not be different from any other year. 2 to 3 grand on average. You need to make 2 to 3 times that. $9,000 a month. How many people with regular bachelor degrees are even making that? No one. Not a lot of people. No one wants to live with roommates. That's not the answer. Everybody deserves a safe and clean space. There's no reason why so many people should be roommating, or you can't even buy yourself your own house. It's not, this is horrible.
My rent in Miami has gone up $750. And let's not even say Miami, North Miami. If you know, you know. North Miami is a older area. They are building some new stuff, but it's an older area. The apartments are old. They don't really have any amenities. Like my apartment does not have a fitness center, pool, nothing. There's not even an on-site office, okay? It's literally just your apartment is what you get, okay? And that's pretty much it. And again, it's an old building. They have done some renovations in the unit, but the bones have some issues. But the cost when I moved in was only $1,200, okay? And the pros of this building is that the units are spacious, okay? Y'all know these new apartments are so tiny. And so this building is clearly built for families. I can do an apartment tour because I'm actually moving out. I can do an apartment tour and show y'all how big it is. But again, there's no amenities. There's nothing that makes it worth what they're charging. So when I moved in 2021, the rent was $1,200, okay? Right now, I'm paying $1,800. When I first moved in, pretty much everybody in this building had been here for like 5+ years, okay? It was mainly Haitian people, like almost 100%, maybe 98% Haitian, and then 2% just African Americans or Jamaican. And yeah, everybody lived here for a long time. It was very family friendly. People would be outside all day, kids playing. It was a very homey neighborhood. I loved it. Once they did that rent increase, which was initially like $500, $600, it went up to $1,800. Everybody moved out, okay? Everybody and their mother moved out. The apartment complex actually tried to increase the rent higher, but nobody was renting it, so they lowered it. So as of right now, if I were to renew, it would be $1,950. But the craziest part about them changing the rent or raising it that high, they have not been able to keep people. So you have people who were living here 5 to 10 years, and now people are either leaving as soon as their lease renews, or I can name at least 4 people who broke their lease. When my rent went up to $1,800, or when they increased the rent, so actually it was $1,200, then it went to $1,400, and then it went to $1,800. The only thing that they offered with the rent increase was they included internet. Okay, even when I was paying for internet, it was only like $60, and then valet trash. Water was already included. Valet trash, that doesn't account for $600. Okay, it just doesn't. The people next to me moved out after 2 months because of a plumbing issue. My apartment complex, if it's something that their maintenance cannot fix, it is your responsibility to get fixed. And it's like with plumbing issues, it might not just be limited to that unit. So how are they supposed to get a plumbing issue fixed if the plumber might need to go in other units? So they moved out after 2 months. They told me, they were like, their apartment stinks like sewage and nobody's doing anything about it. Another couple, 2 doors down, they moved out after 6 months. I don't know what happened. Another couple, they had a child. Both these couples had children. They moved out after like 8 months. People above me moved out after like 8 months. It's like, these apartments are not worth I'm sure they're paying more than me because they came after me. These apartments aren't worth $2,000.
Let's talk rent price increases. Anyone who lives in New York City, doesn't live in New York City, lives in a completely different area, what your rent increase is like every year, because I'm actually moving out of this apartment after living here for 2 years. But the first year that we lived here in a 2-bedroom flex 3 in New York City, our total rent was $5,500. We split it on room size, things like that. But then when we renewed for our second year, they tried to raise our rent to $6,000, which I know doesn't seem like a ton for New York. I've heard of thousands of dollars in terms of increases, but I'm curious to see, because I've seen videos in Boston of increases. Our salaries aren't increasing by that much. Obviously, if you get a promotion, great. But I almost feel like there's a cap out for every industry, basically. So if our rent keeps going up, how are we going to afford that? I made a choice living in an apartment, not owning anything yet. But all my money's just going down the drain. Again, a decision that I chose to make. But I'm curious to hear what your increase is, where you live, what that looks like, and how you go about negotiating any potential increase. Because New York City is so expensive. Some of the apartments that I'm looking at are triple the price that they were a year or even 2 years ago. I feel like eventually in like 5 years, I'm not going to be able to afford to live anywhere. I'm sure we all do. It's just crazy. The more I think about it, the more I'm just like, I'm basically making the same amount that I made last year, and my rent's just going up.
In just a few months, rents across America have skyrocketed, leaving tenants in shock as they face massive increases with little to no warning. Attempts to negotiate with property managers and investors often go nowhere as landlords prioritize profits over people. Many families are now forced to choose between paying rent and affording Christmas gifts, with even basic necessities becoming a struggle. Adding insult to injury, aging buildings like very old buildings with faulty plumbing, outdated interiors, and zero amenities are charging prices comparable to luxury developments. Nowhere is this crisis more evident than in New York, where the lack of rent control has driven prices to absurd levels, forcing tenants to shell out an eye-watering $5,000 for a cramped 2-bedroom, flex 3 and 1-bath unit.
What would you do if your rent increased $1,000 per month in a matter of 3 years? I've officially moved out of Miami and an apartment that I truly love because rent is just too damn high. We went from paying $26.50 in 2021 to $36.60 in 2024. And one of my financial rules is just because you can afford it doesn't mean that it's the right thing to do. So with that being said, let's do an empty apartment tour. We had such a beautiful living and kitchen area, but what really sealed the deal for this apartment was the view. It's right on the Miami River, such a gorgeous view. And this is what it looked like before the building next to us went up. I was able to see all of downtown Miami in Brickell. The rooms were pretty spacious and had super large windows, and the closets had these built-in shelves, which provided a lot of storage. So many great memories were made here, but now it's on to the next chapter.
If you are one of the 25,000 people that watched my video about the Melbourne rental crisis and our rent being increased, hi, welcome. We've moved out, so yay for us. But could we go peacefully? No, we couldn't go peacefully. So we have not been in there for 2 and a bit weeks. We've been moving stuff out, but we've not been living there. We've not been showering there. We've not been using water, electricity, or anything like that. It's still connected, but we haven't we've just been getting stuff out of there. I get a call. I'm in an important meeting at work today, and I'm getting call after call after call and message after message after message after message. I'm like, shit, something is going seriously wrong. Pick up the phone, it's the estate agent. She's like, the plumber's there and there's damage to your apartment's flooding. There's flooding everywhere. There's water leaking out. There's carpets in the hallway are drenched. I'm thinking something has burst in my apartment, that the whole thing is under a foot of water. I'm so sorry, I've got to leave. I cancel my next meeting. I'm running. I still left my coffee. I left my fresh coffee on my desk. I run, I hope I didn't run any red lights. Victorian Police, if you're watching this, I definitely didn't. But I'm zizzing home. Well, to the old apartment. I unlock it. Dry as a bone. I see this guy downstairs. I'm like, hey, are you the plumber that said there was a flooding? He's like, I didn't say there was flooding. I was like, sorry? He's like, oh, there's just some damage in the wall that's come from some shoddy plumbing in your apartment behind the wall. I just need to get in there before the next tenant comes and just redo some stuff. Excuse me? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, I was told it was flooding and really urgent. I had to get down here. He's like, nah, I just need to get in there in the next few weeks. Is that cool? I said, yeah, it has nothing to do with me. I'm about to hand the keys back. We're not living there anymore. He's like, yeah, it's not your fault. No. I call the agent and I'm like, hi, what's going on? She's like, I thought it was urgent. And I was like, isn't your office down the road? Yeah. Could you not have come? I'm not on site. You're literally the property manager. It's your job, not mine. It is not my job to come home to this. I'm just trying to calm myself down, but I am so grateful that I am no longer renting. No, we didn't buy a house. We just moved in with family because the Melbourne rental crisis is fucking sucks.
Wow. 1.3 million empty rentals in America? America, we got a problem. Because the home that they forced me and my family out of, guess what? It's empty. Are they working on it? No. Is it going to be put on the market anytime soon? No. It's going to be left empty. Because what they really want is to control that community. So they're going to buy up more. They're going to push people out more. That's why I'm speaking up about it. Before it's too late and it happens to more people. We need change. Why does our government care more about sending aid to other countries, but does not want to do anything about the homelessness? Because that's what it is in America, where the American citizen is being preyed upon, pushed out on the street. And then wait a minute, isn't it a federal crime to be homeless? So then we're going to get locked up. Somebody make it make sense.
I paid $2,000 a month for a 1-bedroom, 750 square foot apartment, and I posted an apartment tour a couple days ago, and I am floored by the amount of comments saying that is a good deal and I should be really happy about that. No. In what world is $2,000 a month, $24,000 a year for a 750 square foot apartment ever a good deal? I don't understand that. That just proves that we are living in a dystopian world where rent prices are insanely out of control. In what world would 750 square feet be $2,000 a month? I have absolutely no idea. That is just not okay. That is 1 month's pay for me. That is my whole entire monthly paycheck for rent. Luckily, I don't have to pay it by myself, because how in the world is somebody supposed to ever live on their own anymore when you have to make 3 times the rent, and rent is insanely expensive? Nobody can afford that. Nobody can get approved for that. For my little tiny crappy apartment, you'd have to make $72,000 a year to be approved on your own without a cosigner or a roommate or anybody else. How is that ever supposed to happen? It's not. So no, it's not a good deal. I will never think that that is a good deal.
I would have to disagree that $2,100 a month is damn cheap. And a lot of people have commented this, but it's just not true. So I'm going to explain why. The national average salary in the United States right now is $59,000, and $59,000 after taxes, your take home every month is about $3,800. So if you are a household or a single person living off of that one salary, that rent right there is more than half of what you're making. And that's just the average. So of course there's going to be people that are well below the average who cannot even afford a $2,100 rent that you guys are saying is cheap. Now, I'm not ungrateful at all. I'm blessed that we are able to afford this $2,100 of rent, which we got at this rate because we moved during COVID, during the height in 2020. We moved there in 2020 during the height of COVID, and they were having a really good deal because they were desperate to get people in. Now, unfortunately, that rent is about $3,000, but why are we normalizing? Why are we normalizing $2,100 a month of rent as being cheap when the majority of people in the United States don't even make enough to afford this type of rent? So many people have roommates. So many people who are families and have multiple children are living in an apartment instead of living in a house, which is what we are saving for. We're never going to own this apartment. We're all just throwing our money away, renting instead of buying. We have no buying power right now as millennials and as Gen Zers. Why aren't we able to afford to buy things like the generations before us did? How come we're the ones that are screwed? I was born and raised in California. It's not going to be possible for me to buy a home here because the average price of houses here, and these are old houses, like 1950s houses, is about $700,000. I thought I made decent money. Last year was the most I ever made, right? I thought that we would be able to afford a house. We're not going to be able to afford a house that's almost $1 million. It's just not going to happen. So I understand people saying $2,100 is cheap. It's not cheap. It's cheaper than other places, but we are all of us are being overcharged for rent, and these houses are insanely expensive, and there's like no chance of most people ever even being able to afford to buy a house in their lifetime. That's sad.
Miami has been hit with extreme rental increases that many residents are packing up and leaving, unable to keep up with the soaring costs. The crisis isn't just limited to the US. In Australia's Melbourne, people are being forced to move in with family just to survive. Meanwhile, over 1 million rental units sit empty across America, raising the question, why are landlords keeping prices high when so many homes remain vacant? Adding to the frustration, the government continues to send billions in aid to foreign countries while its own citizens struggle to afford a place to live in. With entire paychecks swallowed by rent and strict rentals forcing tenants to make 3 times the rental price just to get approved, the system seems designed to push people further into financial ruin. That's it for now. I cover topics like this all the time, so don't forget to subscribe and follow. Until next time, take care.